Welcome. I'm so glad you're here with me today. And I'm wondering if you might have heard, or maybe not, the story about how I even considered doing a TEDx talk. So it was in the first months after Melissa died, and that was now back to 2018. I heard her voice in my head. And yeah, you could call me crazy, or it could be her voice, could be her imagination. Frankly, it didn't matter to me what it was. I listened, I enjoyed it. It was very comforting to feel her around me, which is how I interpreted it. And there were instructions for me. Do this, go there, buy this, go to the mall and get a navy blue turtleneck or something like that, a jacket with a high neck that will help you out in an athleta. Like it would be a specific place. Go and do that. They'll have it. I would go there, they had it, and I would leave. So that having events that were so concrete, like a high neck something at the store where she knew, because I'm always cold, just like today, still the summer, it's probably close to 80 degrees. I've got to have my neck covered. That's, my hands are cold. Um, that's just my nature. And so, if I have dark blue things that don't have a high neck, I might be in need of that. Anyway, that comforted me and made me confident in the other kinds of suggestions that came into my inbox. One day, there was a summit. And for those of you who are not familiar with summits, it's a couple of entrepreneurs, maybe more than a couple, getting together, offering free talks on a subject. They're usually somehow involved with each other, either professionally or personally, and they're speaking on a subject. And this time the subject was breaking your glass ceiling. I went, what? I don't have a glass ceiling. I'm not working. I'm not making any money. I'm retired. Nobody tells me what I can and can't do. I don't need this. I mean, worst attitude. So I listened to my opinions, if you will. You want to call them opinions. They were kind of judgments also, because I go in, I do sign up. I listen. I might have opinions, resistance, whatever you want to call it, but I do listen. So I sign up for this thing. And there's usually a coordinator. It's the person often who put the thing together. And by the way, they're always selling something by the end, a VIP version where you pay a little, or they're having a gift to get your email, and then you get a barrage. The whole thing is about getting your email, and then you get a barrage of offers from them after that. And I get it. They survive by widening their audience and having new people to serve, if you want to put it that way, or sell, depending on your point of view. So I go to this thing, worst attitude in the world. The person who's leading the summit starts to talk about my eating disorder. Now, from my point of view, what I take in is she still has this eating disorder because it's her identity. She's claiming it in present time. If she said the eating disorder or how I used to eat, do you hear what I'm saying? She was talking about it in present time, and I very much got the feeling that she was struggling with her glass ceiling, which was still her eating disorder. I don't really know how it was her glass ceiling. Maybe she wanted to provide solutions to the eating disorder, and she wasn't there yet because she was still submissive to the eating disorder and wanted to break through and be on the other side. I don't know. But there I am as the participant listening, going, oh, I want to write to her and say, hey, you're revealing more than you want to be revealing. Bad attitude, judgment. Of course, I didn't send the email. It's none of my business. And maybe I'm not even right. That's just my take on it at this moment. And I'm listening to more people and I'm going, yeah. Why am I here wasting my time? I don't know. Maybe it was a mistake. Now I start doubting. Maybe I'm making too much out of these voices that I hear. Starting to doubt it, like, oh, Melissa, maybe you didn't have this in mind for me. And then a man comes on. His name is Taylor Conroy. And he's very charismatic. And he talks about doing a TEDx talk from which many schools were funded and created in Africa. I went, oh my God, TEDx is my glass ceiling. Not that I have to do a TEDx, but my take on TEDx is that that's for other people. That's for brilliant scholars or some people who have brand new, innovative ideas. Not me. And I went, oh my God, that is my glass ceiling. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Spirit. I will be willing to look at that. Shift in attitude went from bad attitude, whatever you want to call it, resentful, to gratitude, enormous gratitude, open-hearted, willing to see the limit. Now, I still don't know. Do I even, I mean, it's not even a question, do I want to do a TEDx talk? It's so far out of my wishes, desires. I'm not even in that field of considering it. But, if indeed she is God, the universe, life pushing me in that direction, let me say yes and fill in the call and have the interview. And so I have an interview with someone, and all I can tell her about were my experiences with Melissa and the angels, and you'll hear about that. Before she died, our whole family got very involved with what we called the angels. That's for another talk. But I had this interview, and if you, I want to laugh because if you know Taylor, he's far out, but I don't think he would be suggesting that I do a TEDx talk on the angels. But this person was captivated by the experiences that our family had with the angels, and even how I got on that TEDx talk. And so she very gently said, how about you watch some TEDx talks on grief, and then we can have another discussion about what your TEDx talk might be. I don't think I ever heard from her again. But then I think I had an idea about doing a TEDx talk on, it might have been about non-duality, because I thought that was a new idea, and it was more professionally worded, and I went through the rigorous process with uh, Taylor's group, because of course I'm ruining the story. They did accept me, and they actually desired to have me because of my professional credentials. I later heard that they charge different amounts for your TEDx preparation, depending on how much they wanted you, which surprised me. So fast forward, time goes on, and I had a lot more experience after my book got written with describing non-duality, even the term, to people, and they glaze over it. There's a hypnosis. The most intelligent people can forget in a half a second what I just said non-duality means. It means not to. It means the oneness. And I can't even remember the details, but I took down that TEDx talk. It was no longer the talk I wanted to give. And so that was about 3 years ago or 2 years ago that I took it down. And with the book writing group, I came up with a much more powerful talk, I thought, that society needed, and I needed to give it. And I had much more time since Melissa died, and I didn't anymore need to talk to people about angels, because it got in the same category as non-duality, glaze over. For some people, enthusiasm, and people thought they knew something because they had a take on angels, but it was usually different than mine. And so it had so many projections involved. Anyway, I was done with it. I'd emotionally talked about it enough with the people that mattered. So I no longer had that need to talk about it. Anyway, my TEDx talk was I felt way more what I thought TEDx was, which was powerful ideas, new ideas that were needed by the world today. And the title of it was Dead Wrong About Death. Fast forward, I feel I was very successful in that I got 2 interviews and had 1 nomination. So I got involved with TED and had the experience of even flying to a town to observe how TED might be produced there, and see where the person worked that would be interviewing me, and got the feel of the whole thing. And then I hired a different company to help me write the talk. And fast forward, TED has changed in the last couple of years. with all of the hullabaloo in the world, I don't know if that's the right word, about fake news, TED is being very protective of our audience, of its audience, and putting stickers on talks that organizers in the different cities have accepted, which suggests that the talk was not researched and that the audience should not follow the advice in the talk. So basically, the company I hired, two great men who just knowing them, one who's a storyteller who I have a lot to learn from, and the other a brilliant speaker, and both these great humans. As two men that had so much feminine in them, not effeminate, but so much of the soft heart and not the bro type of like, yo, bro, sort of the masculine way to approach things. They were just kindred spirits. And they said they feel it's their responsibility to make sure that I know that a certain talk will be likely to get a sticker, even if I can get an organizer to put me all the way through. They seem to like the topics. I got through in about half the number of applications that we're used to having in order to get a response. And so they were suggesting that I have a talk that's more like why we need to have the difficult conversations with children, like death, so that they become less anxious adults. So it was geared toward parents. It was to prevent something that people would Google, less anxiety in children. And so I learned so much, and we produced the outline of a talk and a presentation. We went pretty far with that. And bottom line is, how you're going to prove that the conversation actually caused or promoted less anxiety. You can't prove that. You'd have to have a longitudinal study. You'd have to compare it to people who didn't have those conversations. It's not possible. And so we went on with some other topics. I got a lot of great experience. And then I had an experience with someone who interpreted my human design. And I don't know if any of you have heard about human design. I've resisted it for a couple of years. It's kind of like the Enneagram, but different. It covers different subjects, and I'm such a neophyte. I hardly want to say exactly what it does. And spoiler alert, next week we're going to have somebody on who is an expert at interpreting your and my and anyone's human design. But where the Enneagram talks about our motivation for our strategy. So if I'm a conflict averse person, it might talk about what my feelings are about conflict and then talk about my behavior in terms of that motivation of moving away from conflict. Human design talks about our purpose and in a way covers some of the same topics as the Enneagram in terms of, for example, I showed up emotional, surprise. I'm a 4 on the Enneagram, which is the most emotionally versed and connected to emotion. But it talks also about our authority and how we react to the world and where we get our authority from. And spoiler alert, please come next week, watch next week's Thursday musings. And before next week, write me your human design if you know it, your type, any more details that you have. And if you are interested, let me know if you want to learn more about human design. I have 5 minutes. I put up 10. I have 5 minutes before I got the warning that I have to leave. So let me finish by getting my human design interpreted. There was so much power in different areas. And the same thing about being an individualist that came up in my Enneagram came up in my human design. But I had to let TEDx go because TEDx was no longer big enough to allow me, big enough in terms of their constraints and their paradigms, to allow me to voice what I need to voice. My human design speaks of my need, my requirement to speak to certain subjects that are powerful to me and share them, and that the clarity around that is so important to my happiness. And the talk I would have given would have been competent and useful to people, but is not the talk I need to give. So I will soon, I was going to say eventually, I am starting any minute using YouTube and a new channel, not a new channel, a new playlist on my channel. And I'm now free to talk about why we're dead wrong about death, because TEDx did not want me to speak on that subject. I could be an expert in it, but not give the talk on anywhere else first. And I didn't know what the talk exactly was going to be. So I veered off talking about death entirely, but I'm now free. So I hope that you'll join me on YouTube as we begin to tell stories and share insights about how the death cultural myths can be turned around for more love in our hearts and less suffering in our lives, and really find new freedom through death. How is that possible? You'll have to join me on YouTube. And next week, please watch and listen if you want to hear somebody expand on my human design, because everybody here knows me, and you'll see how much human design has to offer in addition to the Enneagram. They are not opposites or competitors. they have integrated so beautifully in my life and offered quick releases for insight and new decisions. So I've said bye-bye to TEDx, and thank you, TEDx, for the journey. Bye for now.